Are Gore Herd any good? I did not rush to answer this question. I wanted to get a better feel for them myself, and especially, I wanted to cover a lot of the roster because you wouldn't have Gore Herd try to win a battle alone, because that's bad. So are they any good? They're not the worst, but without combined arms, they're doomed. Please like, subscribe, comment, and consider donating to my Ko-fi page. This video would have probably happened eventually, but it's happening now because one of you asked for it. That's how a community works. Let's take it from the top, shall we? Gore Herd have 120 models on Ultra, same as, let's say, Empire Swordsman. A great example for comparison I'll return to repeatedly. Health is 9600 across the unit, so 80 per model, which is unusually high. It's not so high that it's miles ahead, but those Empire Swordsmen are 8280 health. Armor for the default version is 15. Yes, that's awful. There's no shield on this version, and the shield variant is actually lower cost in multiplayer because its offense is significantly hampered as the cost of having those shields. Bear with me. Leadership is 62. Without Chaos Dwarf Overseers keeping them in line, Hobgoblin Cutthroats are 45 base. Swordsmen are 60. Speed is 38. Instead of waiting, I'll say this up front. Primal Fury applies, so the real speed is 42 while the unit is on the initial attack, barring other bonuses or the faction tech that increases all speeds by 5%. Melee attack is 36, with an attack interval of 4.4. More elite fast weapon infantry attack at 4 a lot, but this is right around where the Chaos Dwarf ones attack, if ever so slightly slower. Melee defense is 25, which is not very high, but which is not as bad as, say, most archers. Weapon strength is 36, with a base damage of 25 and armor-piercing damage of 11, which is far from the worst ratio I have seen for infantry out there. Charge bonus is 26, which is almost up there with basic bloodletters, and this too goes up by 10% from Primal Fury. It's nice, but it's going to matter exactly once in a lot of battles, and then you're stuck in melee. Now, let me put up the Total War stats data for this and the units I'm doing sort of kind of comparisons to. Normally I don't do this because I love my footage, and I try to use my voice just in case you're listening podcast style. But this time, I'm comparing a lot, so see for yourselves. If you're wondering about the melee attack, I'm returning to that now. Primal Fury adds +5 to melee attack while leadership is over 50% of base value. So for the plain vanilla unit right here, it would be above 31. Any lower and it's about ready to run for the Drakewald anyway. So the real melee attack for the unit for our purposes is 41. For the shields variant with Primal Fury, the melee attack begins at 31. For Empire Swordsman, melee attack starts at 32. With a weaker weapon strength on top of that. With Hobgoblin Cutthroats, attack interval is higher, but melee attack starts out at 28. They do have the Backstabber trait to increase weapon damage until they get beat up a lot. Their base damage is identical to the Empire Swordsman. Chaos Warriors of Khorne have 46 when Frenzy is up. Bloodletters of Khorne don't get Frenzy, so their melee attack is unmodified at 34. Before you start buffing them with Frenzy, Chaos Dwarf Warriors start with 30, and Infernal Guards start at 32, with fewer models, comparable or superior weapon damage, and of course one huge hell of a lot more armor and silver grade shields. I'm pointing all of this out so that you understand what's going on. Gore Herd suffer from an understaffed and underfed marketing department. Besides the usual woodsman and hide-and-forest traits, they also have Vanguard deployment, something I want to get out of the way. So, deep breath. In, out. It's like this. Gore Herd are Vanguard deployment, Berserker, Axe, Infantry. Some low-end infantry exist to hold the line. These aren't it. Gore Herd are damage dealers. They're prey, and I use that word deliberately. Consists of general, enemy infantry, and missile units that have low to moderate melee capability. I've been quietly using them as my front line in a lot of my skirmish versus AI for these Beastmen roster videos. And how did they do? Not bad, unless they were cut down so fast that they just flat out fled the battle, leaving the units I was testing in a vulnerable position. They fared especially badly against anything armored and that had some kind of anti-infantry component, namely Empire Greatswords and Blackguard Corsairs, the melee double sword variant. Even with the Chaos Dwarf roster, I played up the importance of disruption, distraction, and not letting enemies focus missile fire on your forces. Here, it's not optional. If you want Gore Herd to be of any use, they need to actually arrive relatively intact to crash into the enemy unit and begin doing damage. This is a knife fight, so to speak, even though it's with axes. Both sides are going to get hurt. The challenge is to use the offensive power of the Gore Herd, which remains effective until the armor and toughness and offensive ability get too much, like Saurus Warriors, and to use other parts of your army to kill faster and better, at which point the combined assault will make the enemy front line break. That's how you use Gore Herd. You can't tank. You're not fighting a war of attrition. You're doing a DPS check. You fail, you lose. Having said that, the raw hit points of the unit work in its favor. Even with armor at 15, the enemy still has to hit you. The enemy has to concentrate on killing you. If the archers are tied up by Ungor spearmen, they can't shoot you. If the greatswords to your left are being run over by the Razor Gore chariots, they're not killing you. Every 10 seconds you're still on the battlefield is 10 more seconds to cut something down. They're battle axes. They're good at that. I saw a video from Shadiversity on them just 2 weeks ago. It's great. So that's the basic story. As is traditional, I'll briefly explore how to make them better. Fury of the Herd is common to all the infantry units as Red Line Lord skills go. At rank 3 of the skill, you get +6 leadership and +6 melee defense for Gore Herd, among others. So, why is this important? Because Primal Fury depends on staying above 50% of base leadership, not modified, making this an important safety margin, and because melee defense of 25 is bad, and 31 is better. Remember that once in melee, armor only matters when something hits you. Damage avoided is damage you don't need armor to mitigate. Unrelenting Savagery grants, at rank 7 for the unit, +5 melee attack, +5 melee defense, and grants 10% physical resistance. Given that this unit has 15 armor, that physical resistance is a godsend, and the rest stands to make your Berserker Axe infantry do more damage, take less damage, and just plain last longer. Then, the only issue is getting them into melee to begin with. Challenges of the Dark Gods. Okay, the Unnatural Order grants you +10% charge bonus for the Gore Herd units too, so that helps on the initial attack, or for new charges once your first foes are routed. Savage Mantle grants +10 armor to Gore Herds, just like with Bestigors, and here it matters a lot. 15 armor to 25 armor at least gets you competitive with other low-end infantry. 100 to 110 doesn't matter that much. What else? Nothing else. Not for Tets. You're done. Aside from keeping leadership up, that means your only shot at making things better is simple. Magic. I'm not the one with videos that do deep guides into the magic available to the Beastmen. Not yet, anyway. But unlike Khorne, you really do have access to magic. And while it's not the red pepper version the Chaos Dwarfs tend to have, a well-timed Soul Blight is a glorious thing to see in a brawl. When you're unbalanced towards offense, anything that debuffs the enemy's ability to hurt you and reduces the enemy's armor is a blessing from the Dark Gods themselves. In short, remember these axioms. Gore Herd need to be in contact with enemy infantry as quickly as possible. Vanguard deployment is a tool for this purpose. Your other units that are faster, more armored, and so on and so forth distract the enemy and make it even harder for the enemy to whittle down your Gore Herd, making it more likely to achieve contact with the enemy infantry line. Once you make contact, all you can do is fight it out using every tool at your disposal, but that is where you are strongest. Once the enemy breaks, find something else to charge into in order to take advantage of your relatively high charge bonus as far as infantry units go. Rinse, repeat until the battle is done. This is the path of the beast. This is the way. Take care, and have fun making the battle one fought on your terms, not that of the prissy humans.